Welcome back to CVM Live. It's now time for the major stories in detail. And we begin with a developing story. Fire gutted sections of Tars Meadows, leaving a number of people homeless while destroying several premises. With that story, we join our reporter, Joel Kroskill.
Fire ravaged a number of domiciles in the community of Tars Meadows in Spanish Town, as reports have emerged that the fire may have resulted from the play of children in a bedroom of one of the houses that would eventually be affected.
Allegations are that some youngsters were playing with a lighter, and eventually a bed caught fire, and after that it got out of control. So far, there was panic in the early stages because persons called the fire department and the response wasn't very fast. They eventually came and the community rallied around them and did their best to control the fire.
Residents tried desperately to intervene while they waited on the arrival of the Jamaica Fire Brigade.
We observe fire and smoke in our building, sir. And I just use up my knowledge and put in the help I can put in. Because all we live in our community, we have to help one another.
Acting Assistant Superintendent Harrison, in charge of the Spanish Town Fire Station, gave the official account of what transpired.
Well, this morning at around 12 minutes after 10, a motorcyclist rode to the station and reported that there are houses on fire at Talspen. One unit from Spanish Town was immediately dispatched to the location. Upon the arrival of the officer in charge, he realized that he is in need of additional resources, including water and men. So a message was sent back to Spanish Town, and we immediately asked Portmore and Old Harbour for some backup assistance.
Mr. Harrison explained the extent of the damage that had been wrought as a result of the blaze.
Preliminary investigation tells us that approximately 31 personnel were affected. Some 15 adults and 16, 17 children. 5 houses were affected. 2 suffered major damage. The one that the fire started, plus an adjoining one, suffered major damage. The other 3 were mainly waterlogged and smoke stained.
Joel Kroskill, CVM Live.
And we have a CVM Live developing story. Tenants of Ellerton Flats in Kingston have been without water for over a month, and the owners infuriated that the National Water Commission is yet to reconnect the supply. Here is our reporter, CVM Live's Khadija Thomas.
There is no water on the premises. They went and cut off the water, leave it was running for weeks, didn't went back and do anything about it.
That's the owner of Ellerton Flats, Lamita James, who says the situation has gone on for too long. She says it has been 3 weeks since the NWC disconnected the water from the 4 apartments, and the tenants are unable to access the much-needed resource. She says the commission has been sending bills with incorrect charges to one of her tenants.
I need to know something from Water Commission. I speak to Mr. Mark Burnett last year, and he said it must be an error for $177,000 for one small bedroom and a living room. There was no leak. I wrote several letters. I didn't get any reply until when the secretary from the lawyer office had sent me a letter. And then after that, they went up there and tear down everything.
She says a tenant's water main was broken off, and the NWC asked that he pay over $377,000 that he did not owe. To make matters worse, there are 2 children living on the premises. James says she had to beg neighboring residents for water to supply to her tenants, who have decided to vacate the property if something is not done.
Several people called. Several, the people on the property called, people outside called, and nothing was done. Nothing was done. This is the way we are in Jamaica treating each other. And that is unfair.
Several calls were made to the National Water Commission regarding the matter, but all went unanswered. CVM Live will continue to monitor the situation. Khadija Thomas, CVM Live.
But CVM Live managed to contact the NWC Corporate Public Relations Manager, Charles Buchanan, who says he will be getting updates on the particular accounts and will be investigating the matter. The man who pleaded guilty to killing his former employer, Barbara Moncrief, and injuring 3 others back in 2017, Omar Graham, was sentenced in the Home Circuit Court in downtown Kingston today. CVM Live's Nicole Wilson has this story.
Omar Graham, otherwise known as Brown Man, has been sentenced to 20 years for murder and 10 years for 3 counts of wounding with intent, a combined sentence of 30 years imprisonment. Mr. Graham, who was employed at Moncrief Patios located along Old Hope Road in Kingston, returned to his former place of employment on March 24, 2017, where he launched an attack on co-owners Barbara and Vassal Moncrief and 2 employees. According to Mr. Moncrief, the accused entered his office and hit him over his head with a blunt object, rendering him unconscious. When he regained consciousness, he observed his wife on the floor covered in blood. 1 employee was stabbed in her back, left breast, left shoulder and abdomen, while the other was hit in the head with a hammer. His attorney indicated that he grew up in a stable home, but his father left when he was 16, causing her client to become withdrawn. Supreme Court Justice Martin Gale, who handed down the judgment, considered Mr. Graham's lack of prior convictions and his remorse demonstrated through his guilty plea. He, however, said that unfulfilled promises do not justify the actions the accused took. Nicole Wilson, CVM Live.
The name Edward Philip George Siaga now adorns the corporate building of Petrojam, as the facility was named in his honor, the gesture piloted by Energy Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley. It's in recognition of Siaga's contribution to national development and in particular his role in the purchase of the Petrojam refinery from Esso West Indies in 1982. CVM Live's Joel Croskill reports.
Glowing tributes poured in for Edward Siaga as the Petrojam building was renamed in his honor at a recent ceremony.
This very small gesture today, Mr. Siaga, is our way of saying we love you, we cherish the work that you have done, and we have to find more ways to symbolize it. And so, you know, putting your name on a building, it's just one way of giving that symbol. But it is such an important thing to do because generations will come and the wind of time will blow away the memories of the great things you have done. So we have to leave markers behind for generations to come.
Mr. Holness pointed to Mr. Siaga's long-standing interest in energy security.
Mr. Siaga has always maintained that we should use not just solar and wind, but we should use biofuels as well. And I know, Mr. Siaga, that you are big on the Lucina.
Mr. Siaga has maintained his interest in the biofuel sector and was pleased to hear that the SRC have developed a program to investigate the benefits of the plant. For his part in the renaming process, Mr. Siaga was humble in his acceptance of the honor.
I'm surprised to be here because in the history of Petrojam, all I did was to buy it. So I didn't think that I was worthy of being honored for the occasion. Anyway, I'm glad that I did, and I'm glad that it will now serve an even greater purpose.
Joel Croskill, CVM Live.
President of VMBS, Courtney Campbell, says they're committed to partnerships aimed at improving the quality of life for disabled children after donating $450,000 to the Randolph School of Hope. As CVM Live's Khadija Thomas reports, the handing over was done at the National Leadership Prayer Breakfast held recently.
The school is a special education institution that caters to children with moderate and intellectual disabilities. Campbell says there are 580,000 persons living with disabilities in Jamaica, but only 5% are registered with the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities.
We at Victoria Mutual commend the Jamaica Association on Intellectual Disabilities and the Ministry of Education, along with the administration and staff of the Randolph Lopez School of Hope, for the tremendous work that you have been doing to help these students realize their full potential. You have been instrumental in empowering our children with disabilities, giving them the opportunity to become independent and ultimately contribute to the economic life of the country.
He says the government's social welfare system does not have the capacity to sustain a program that has all vulnerable citizens depending on its resources for sustenance.
If we're not strategic friends in ensuring that all our citizens, including the disabled community, are provided with the tools to realize their dreams and given access to do so, the negative social impact will be severe.
He adds that the MBS will continue to empower special needs students as they have selected the school as their main 2018 labor project. Meanwhile, the principal of Randolph Lopez School of Hope, Sylveslina Reed, says the donation will aid in improving the social skills of students.
Skills that are significant to better integrate them in our society and help them to become more functional, make significant contributions to our society, as well as to help others recognize their worth.
Khadija Thomas, CVM Live.
The newly appointed People's National Party candidate for Southeast St. Elizabeth has hit the ground running, prescribing a number of ways in which the people can be empowered if he is selected in the next general elections. Nika Lewis reports.
Dwayne Spencer, a medical doctor and the brother of former embattled St. Elizabeth politician Kern Spencer, is the PNP's candidate for the southeastern St. Elizabeth constituency. His selection came after the former PNP MP Richard Parchment left the post vacant in 2017 after losing to the Jamaica Labour Party's Frank Witter in the last general elections.
We have to go from community to community, division to division, and put a strategic way to put water into all the farms, all the houses, all the business places.
Young Spencer, who spoke to the people this week, sought to speak to the pain of the people he not only prescribed treatment for, but now hopes to lead into policy and politics.
When it comes to tourism, we have to take a look at eco-tourism in Alligator Pond, straight right back to Treasure Beach. That will bring more income into the constituency, more jobs, and that's where we want to grow and move this constituency forward.
Like his brother before him, who was embraced by the seniors of the party, he likewise received the endorsement of party president and long-serving politician Dr. Peter Phillips. Phillips explained how vital Spencer is to the party's mission of empowerment.
We have a mission that says that no matter what school you go, you must get the highest quality education. And whether you go BB Cook or you go Hampton or Monroe, it must be one standard of education for all. Whether you're Laconia or Black River or Hampton or BB Cook.
Nika Lewis, CVM Live.
Acting Assistant Commissioner of Police Steve McGregor says parents must spend more time in grooming their young boys to be responsible in preventing deviant behavior.
Speaking at the St. Mary Community and Safety Branch meeting recently, McGregor says parents have become more focused on preparing their daughters and have neglected their sons in the process.
We ensure that our girls have shoes on when they're walking around, that they're properly attired. But our boys can walk up and down outside in tear-bottom pants, yes, no shoes. What we're doing is teaching them to be irresponsible from that early age, and in turn teaching the girls to be responsible. So it might seem as if the boys are just idle.
He says police officers must play a role in the development of youths as they are more prone to be involved in crime when they are given too much freedom.
I always say when you're in the kitchen cooking, because I didn't get this lesson, that's why I say it so often, because I cannot cook right now. Can't cook, probably just fry egg or so on, you know what I mean? When you're in the kitchen cooking and the girl is on your right, the boy must be on your left. Teach him to be responsible, just as how we are doing with our girls.
McGregor adds that parents must have what he describes as social time with their children to prevent harmful external socialization, which might be detrimental to their future.
If you call that child and say, come here, Tony, and sit down, he's thinking that he did something wrong, you know. So you might not get anything out of him. But if you sit with them and play board games like we used to do, like Monopoly and Scrabble, or those word games where you call a letter and you write down apple and so on with it, where you have them in that casual gathering, they might just say, Mommy, you know that today, and they will speak.
Khadija Thomas, CVM Live.
Time now for regional and international news with our reporter, Nicole Wilson.
News in Antigua. More than 20,000 Eastern Caribbean dollars or 900,000 Jamaican dollars worth of drugs was seized by police at the VC Bird International Airport on Wednesday. Both the canine and narcotics officers were on duty at the airport when one of the sniffer dogs detected drugs hidden inside 2 cardboard boxes. The boxes were searched and several packages of cannabis were found concealed inside. One box had packages weighing 5 pounds while the other was weighing 274 grams. The substance was seized and taken to the police station pending further investigations. And in Antigua, elections will be called before they are constitutionally due in 2019. That's the word from Prime Minister Gaston Brown, who made the confirmation on Tuesday. He, however, says he is not ready to disclose how soon he plans to call the election. Late Monday night, an alert began circulating on social media that Prime Minister Brown plans to dissolve Parliament on Friday and announce the election date on Saturday. The alert, of unknown origin, also indicated that the election will be held in April this year. When asked about the speculations, Prime Minister Brown says they are credible, but did not confirm the social media alert. There are numerous indications that the Prime Minister may call an election between now and April, strongest among them the confirmation of candidates by his party before Christmas of last year. And in Trinidad and Tobago, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley got together yesterday with representatives of Australia, Canada, United States and the United Kingdom to discuss the Twin Island Republic's management of its recent national security challenges. The meeting appeared to be a post-mortem of the recent situation involving police investigations into a plot to disrupt Carnival 2018. On February 8, police announced that they had unearthed credible information on the plot and 15 people were detained for almost 6 days during the investigation. Of the 15 people detained, all but 2, a couple charged with firearm possession, were released after Carnival. The couple is to reappear in court in March. We continue with news in the United States. The head of the most powerful gun lobby in the United States has accused Democrats and media of exploiting a Florida school shooting that left 17 people dead. Wayne LaPierre says opportunists are using the February 14 tragedy to expand gun control and abolish U.S. gun rights. Mr. LaPierre's comments came during the Conservative Political Action Conference in Washington. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has suggested teachers could receive bonuses for carrying guns. That's it for regional and international news. I am Nicole Wilson. Good evening.
Still to come on the program, our News Live in 5. But straight ahead is our panel discussion. The power invested in the Independent Commission of Investigations. And much talk about